morning, everyone. Day 2 of Deliver. I hope you had a really great first day. This second day will kick off with Davy and with Maggie that will share all about their Loop's growth within, the e-commerce market and beyond. I'm so excited to learn more from you. If you have any questions, keep them. We'll have space for Q&A at the end, and I'll be back for that. Have fun.
Excellent. So yes, we're here to have a lot of fun. I'm very excited. My name is Maggie Barnett. I am the COO of ShipHero. Oh. This is a very interesting format. We have some blue, some red, and some green. So I'm going to try to make this whole place blue by the end. So if you're next to someone with a different color, just tap them to go blue. Anyway, all right. So my name's Maggie Barnett. I'm the COO of ShipHero. A little bit of background about ShipHero. We are a WMS system, first and foremost. Some of our clients include Canadian Tire, Loop, Canadian Tire, and we have so many customers across the board. But our WMS serves over 500 customers. We process nearly 10 billion in GMV annually. That compromises about 1% of Shopify, so it's incredibly exciting. We also do fulfillment. That's the second side of our house. And there we have such customers as David Chang's Momofuku and customers such as Davy from Loop. And we have 7 warehouses, 1 million square feet across North America, all owned and operated by ShipHero. In addition, we have partners here in Europe and in Australia. So that is ShipHero in a nutshell. If you have any questions, we have a booth outside. But today, we're excited to learn more about Davy and Loop.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. I'm Davy from Loop. I've been with Loop for 2.5 years. So I was part of the growth that we've seen. I joined 2 years ago. We were about 30 people. This morning in the hotel, I checked how many people we are today, and we're 328. So we grew with 300 people in just over 2 years. And then, yeah, as Maggie mentioned, we recently started working with ShipHero in April,
yes,
Canada for our fulfillment. And yeah, excited to tell you guys a little bit more about what we do here at Loop.
Excellent. So exciting. So let's dive right in. So one of the great things about going international, like everyone wants to be international, right? You're excited. You're like, we're going to be an amazing brand. But you had to start somewhere, right, Davy? And you have to start with the first sale. And the first sales are the hardest. Mm-hmm. So can you bring us back to the first days and kind of where you started in Belgium, your first sales, when you're just trying to get those initial customers going, and how the fulfillment went at that time?
So yeah, the company was founded by 2 friends. They're still in the company currently, and they both had tinnitus. So they were like going to parties and figuring out like, what do we put in our ears right now? But the solution that were out there were not the most stylish. They want to feel confident. So then they felt like, let's find something of our own. Let's make something of our own. So it was basically just a 3D printer. Make an earplug, go to a party, and see if anyone would want to wear it too. And that's really how it started. So they went to this party in Antwerp. We're based in Antwerp. And a lot of people were asking them, like, what is this in your ears? Like, is this something that we can buy somewhere? They didn't really have a website or anything at that point in time. But that's really how it started. So people were interested enough. They got some funding from friends and family, started a website. And that's how it all went from the start, like 3D printing and sending it to friends and family.
So just to take it back and really dig in, were they just printing labels? Like that they had a Shopify store, I'm assuming, and orders would come in and no warehouse at the beginning.
No, so printing labels at the house and getting mom and dad to drop them off at the post office to send them to the customers.
And when did they realize it's time to either go with a 3PL in Belgium or do it ourselves, set up our own warehouse? Like, how did that decision-making process happen?
I think it's mostly just like when the volume hits. So in 2019, we saw a little bit of sales spikes, and then we decided to go to the CES in Las Vegas, so the Consumer Electronics conference. And for some reason, they really hit it off with the people there. So we got a really big order from CVS. so 100,000 units. We were still 3D printing at that point in time. So that's kind of when we went into mass production. We had to deliver 100,000 units within 3 months. So if you do that on a 3D printer, it's probably not going to work out for you. And that's kind of where it started off for Loop, like more into the retail than the DTCs for us.
Got it. And I think what we've seen with a lot of our customers is that once they hit the 3,000 to 5,000 mark, just using a label printer, and that's per month, it becomes unwieldy. That's when you really need some technology to kind of help and some more space. And you even have a small product, so it's a little bit easier. But just keeping track of all the SKUs really needs some technology. So you go to CES, it starts to happen, retail's going. What started the D2C?
There's this little thing that happened called COVID, and we had earplugs for concerts and parties. So unless you were like going against the rules, there were no really any parties. So we dropped sales by 90%, and we were in retail. So retail wasn't our biggest sale anymore, and that's kind of where we had to like pivot and find a new product that we didn't really put the market at that point in time. So we kind of like hovered around putting something for like sleeping or motorcycles or anything like that, and we actually, it's still a bigger product right now. It's our sleep product. So we pivoted from partying to, I want to block out the noise, I want to be able to sleep, I want to be comfortable on an airplane, and that's kind of how we pivoted to DTC, because there was no more parties or anything like that. So we went to DTC, and also I think we grew so much as a brand that we wanted to stand out from the foamies that you put in your ears. And if you go into like a CVS or a MediaMarkt in this case, they put you next to the foamies. So it's kind of difficult for people to understand, like, why would I pay 20 euros for a stylish earplug when it's probably just going to do the same as a €2 foamy?
Got it. And how did you start to differentiate that? Was it just by doing a D2C channel, like actually physically removing that? And also, how did you do keywords? Like, what was the marketing? How did that change in the sales team?
We try to be a young brand, so we pivot very heavy into social media. So especially now, for example, TikTok, Meta, Twitter, anything basically that's social media, you can probably find us. And that's kind of how we pivoted at that point in time. So it's mostly social media for us. That's the biggest one. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So you're starting to fulfill, you start to see the ramp in sales on D2C. When did you know it's going to break? We're sending things from Belgium to the US. Like, what were the issues you were running into? Like, was it a tracking issue? Was it time?
I think it's tracking, it's time, and just also, the price. I mean, we can't get around it. I mean, it's quite expensive to send something from Belgium to the US. So tracking was definitely an issue, because people in US expect their package to come with a USPS or something like that, rather than send it over from Belgium to Germany and then Germany to somewhere in US. And then again, takes, as you mentioned, time. Can take 7 to 10 days to get to the US. Like, how do you explain to someone who can buy a product on Amazon that it's only going to take 2 days, when with us, if you buy it on our website, like, okay, it's going to take 7 to 10 days. It's hard to convince someone. And then also just the customer experience part. People are just not happy to wait that long.
And were you finding, how many customer service people were you seeing when it's like, this is just too much? Like, how many tickets were like, I think we can solve this by opening a 3PL in the US? Like, what was that number? Like, you're just like, I can't take it anymore. I can't keep getting this complaint.
I think actually, like, our customer service team has also seen the same growth as Loop. So around that time, we were 5 to 6 people. They were handling about 100, 150 tickets per person per day.
Okay.
And most of them, as you mentioned, would be for the US, Canada, or like Australia, for example. So anything that is going really far, you get quite a bit of tickets. Currently, today, we have a team of more than 30 people in customer service that handle all our tickets. But as you mentioned, the tickets significantly dropped when we actually made the change. And for us, like, any ticket costs $2 to $3. Just so if you take that into account, plus your fulfillment costs, it's quite an expensive one. Yeah.
So there's tracking, there's time, and there's also taxes. I know that's one of the things. There's been a lot of people talking cross-border here. going into the US, going into Canada, something getting caught up at the post can be very upsetting for a customer.
Yeah. And
so
that was also one of the reasons why we decided to switch from US to Canada as well. So we did about 50 to 60,000 orders currently in US and Canada, but then at some point we were like, okay, customers in Canada again have to wait 7 to 10 days, gets caught at duties and taxes. And it's also not clear very often for Canadian customers that when it arrives at the house, they still got to pay duties or taxes, and then you've got an angry customer that's like telling you like, hey, why do I have to pay taxes on this?
Which I know I have. It's it's upsetting, and all of a sudden you thought you were spending $20 and now it's 28 or 30. So tracking, timing, and taxes. Do you feel like it was a third each, or was there one that stood out?
For us and for people within Loop, it's probably time. Time is the most important one for us because we do have a lot of our sales on Amazon as well. So we're competing with Amazon. So we always feel like maybe time is going to be the one. But I can honestly say that time is not going to be the key differentiator for customers, or at least that's what we've seen.
Okay. So because they still want to buy directly from you?
Yeah.
And then at the checkout, do you actually say like this could take 7 to 10 days?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Well, you can pick your shipping method. So it could say anything between 7 to 10, or it could say like 2 to 3. But if it's 2 to 3, you got to pay for it.
Okay. All right. So you're like, we've got to get to all these things are happening. So you say, it's time to go to the US. Sales are growing. What's the next step? Like, you're in charge. You say, okay, the mandate is it's time to get to the US. We're having all these customer service issues. What do you do?
Well, as I mentioned, at that point in time was COVID, so I couldn't really get on a plane to go to US. So go on Google and type in what's the best 3PL in the US, I would say, because I was also very green when it came to the US. I've never been like in logistics in US. I was very much like European based. So for me, it was a completely new market. We just went on Google and looked for the best 3PL.
And how did that go?
We're not working with them anymore.
Okay.
I think we've outgrown them as well. But for us, at that point in time, it was good because it gave us a foothold into the American market, and they were really experts into like how do we get our stuff with the customer in 2 to 5 days rather than 10. But we've grown so massively that we are just one of the many now for them, and it wasn't getting to a point anymore where we felt comfortable that it was a fit for our brand and also on a customer service side.
Yeah, and I'd like to take this time too. When you started that first initial contract, what's something that you would do differently? I mean, obviously you couldn't travel because it's COVID, but like, what's one of the gotchas that you saw in the contract? This is a 3PL contract.
Yeah, I think there's two things. One is don't believe everything they say when it comes to transportation, because of course they got to take their margin on that, and I trust that. But I feel like we should have been a bit more comfortable to venture out ourselves and contact like a local transportation company, USPS or something like that, because we had enough volume to make it interesting for them to contract with us. I think that's one of the things that we're changing now in our entire setup. And then I think the second thing is volume. Don't put too much volume in a contract. Any number that's in there might stab you in the back at some point in time. So I think that's also a very important one for us now.
Got it. And that is something we see a lot of 3PLs do. They try to put either minimums or like a service fee on top of that if you don't hit those minimums, just because they're allocating space. So let's talk about too the length of the contract and how much inventory you'd actually want to keep comfortably with that 3PL.
Yeah, so I think for Loop, it's a little bit different because we do have a very small product. So storage for us is, it's basically 1% of our cost structure. So we kind of want to be quick and nimble and be able to move out. So we push pretty hard with our 3PLs to have a contract of like a year. Year is a good term for us, but we always want to have a notice period of like 2 to 3 months max, which kind of aligns with the amount of stock that we will put down, like 2 to 3 months. That's kind of the number for us.
Okay, I think that's a really good number. We're seeing longer contracts, sometimes 6 to a year, but with your volume dictates. So if you're a merchant doing over 10,000 orders a month, 20,000 orders a month, merchants should know that they can push back. And try to get the terms that they want.
Exactly.
So that's great. So you hit 10,000 orders a month. You go with your first 3PL. they let you down a little bit, or they just didn't scale as well with you. How did you transition to the next one? What were you gave us some of the learnings, but you know, how did you actually go about doing it the second try?
I think the most important one is to physically visit. It's always nice to talk to them via Teams or get a video of what the warehouse looks like, but I always want to get a feel for it. You know, I want to be able to talk to the people that are going to be handling our stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah.
In the end, the way that we need to think about is that they are the first physical connection that we will have with the customer. If they do not do their job properly, we will hear about it.
Yeah.
So I think that was an important one. And don't necessarily go with the big names out there. Of course, there are some out there that are amazing, and we definitely took a visit with them. But we were also comfortable enough to take a risk and go with a name out there that nobody knows about, just like a mom and pop shop with like 20 orders a day, and see if that would work for us. Because for us, we have a small product. Our process is pretty standard. So it's quite easy for basically anyone in the room to do our fulfillment, to be honest.
You just need a WMS to print the labels
and a table and a label and send it out.
And so you're going through that process. It does some of the constraints that we find with the mom and pops sometimes is that they only have one location. They can't always flex with labor as easily, and that can be a concern when you're growing, right? But also, it's nice to be able to get someone on the phone.
Yeah.
So I can see.
It's always that
tension.
balance, finding the balance between getting someone on the phone and doing a Black Friday where we estimate we're going to do about 4 times the regular volume and then do 10 times the volume and have 2 or 3 weeks of delays in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it's nice to have some redundancy within a network. Maybe not someone who's too big, but has multiple nodes that can kind of take up a lot of that slack, and just big enough warehouses as well. I know your product's small, but you do still need a number of packing stations to get a 10x out. So I think that's super helpful. And then for people too who have different sized products, it can be very scary sending a container of, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Inventory usually takes up a large portion of the P&L. So not everyone can be as nimble. So I think it's very nice that one of the things I would always say is really know your product and how quickly you can move it around. Okay, so savings versus satisfactions. You knew it was going to cost a little bit more. We kind of talked about the tickets. Would you, even if it was net neutral, still move your product to the US, even if it wasn't saving you money?
Yeah, always.
Just for customer service?
Yeah, customer service, but also just giving the customer experience and just being able for them to check out and see a 2-day lead time rather than a 10-day. We would always do the.
And I think it's something interesting. How many repeat customers do you have? Like, what's the percentage roughly?
Repeat customers for us, it's not super high. It's roughly like 20%.
Okay, so it's still, you want to keep that customer experience happy. You don't want a bad review. Reviews are so key right now. We can tell that it's worth it.
Yeah, and like an important one for Loop as well is like 1 out of 5 sales is word of mouth. So basically, you buy something, you tell a friend, and they buy our Loops. So it's quite important for us, like customer experience,
Yeah. So what are some of the other things, like what we have right here, that you noticed? You go into the U.S., and then you say, okay, U.S. is going great. I've cut down on my customer service tickets, better tracking. My customers are happy. But now I have customers that are probably ticking up even more in Canada. Because once you start selling in the U.S., we see it automatically with all of our merchants. Canada follows very quickly. What made you say, now I've got to put stock in Canada?
I think the volume was there at a certain point in time. I think we had the number on there as well, like 10,000 orders for us was a good number. It's going to convince someone, in this case ShipHero, to take us on and give us a good price. So the volume was definitely one. But also if you just, again, look at customer service tickets, if you do 50,000 orders a month and you've got, I'd say 5% tickets, and you see that all of them are coming from Canada, then you've got an issue there. So that was probably the most important one again for us, to just make that switch and go into Canada. I think the most difficult one again there is like, where do we base our locations? Do we put it in Toronto? Do we put it in Vancouver? Do we need 2 locations? That's always the hard one.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we always tell our customers, it's great to have Toronto and Vancouver. We have locations in each one of those cities because that's where it's very similar to the US, where East Coast, West Coast, you're going to save so much on shipping. You will save $3 to $4 on shipping, not having to ship from the East Coast to Vancouver for a package. So it's worth it. And then also something about split shipments. It seems like you're pretty good with inventory, but you do have a lot of warehouses to stock right now. How do you feel about inbounding to those warehouses? Like, what's kind of the strategy when you think of planning? How far are you forecasting out? And are you okay with splitting a shipment?
So we've got currently 6 warehouses. We've got one in Australia, we've got one in Canada, US, UK, Belgium, and then Hong Kong. When it comes to forecasting, we're not the greatest yet. So we usually tend to keep 2 to 3 months of stock, but we also have limited editions and seasonal edition products that we always launch. So every single month there's something new coming. So it's always difficult for us to really put enough stock in there and be sure that we're going to be able to hit the sales that we get. We had this thing, I think 2 years ago, where we forecasted that we would do about 1,000 units in 3 months. We got the stock in, and then it sold out within like 2 days.
Wow.
So, and that was actually like just before Black Friday. So our new products, we actually did not have them in stock for Black Friday.
And what are you going to do to prepare this year? Because these are good problems, but also like, wow, we could have made more.
We're trying to get an ERP system implemented by the end of the year, because currently it's still, it sounds very strange. Like I was telling one of my colleagues today that last month we sold our 10 millionth unit.
Oh, congratulations.
But we still don't even have an ERP, so it's all Shopify and Excel still. So
it's a lot of Excel. It's a lot of pivot tables.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the biggest thing with that is, and split shipments. Are you okay? Say someone orders 4 or 5 pairs.
No.
Will you not ship it?
No, we will just wait.
Okay. How did you tell the customer? Like, how do you?
We will tell them, yeah. We will tell them to wait. Basically, like if you, with us as well, like you can't really order anything unless we do have it in stock. So let's say you order 5, you will not be able to check out unless we have everything in stock. The thing is also for us is that we can kind of switch things around. So let's say in Canada, a customer orders and for some reason there's no stock. We can always just flip it around and send it still from US. Same Belgium, UK, we can also just switch it around and do something else.
So you would default to the second nearest warehouse for the full order?
Always.
Okay, that's great. And I think that's something really good to think about as a merchant is what you want the experience to be. Do you want it quickly? Are you okay with 2 packages? And also, too, if it's even worth it with your margins to send out multiple packages.
Yeah, and most of the time that it's not.
Yeah,
so.
And what's the average price point?
I think the cheapest product that we have is 20 euros and the most expensive one is like 55. So average order for us is about 35 to 40 euros.
Okay. And so, yeah, again, merchants that go up and down the line on that might think of it differently, like a split's okay.
Yeah.
Or the customer might say, just get me this item here right away, and then I'll wait for the next. Okay. All right. So when you think about it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback, but lessons learned.
Don't trust your Google skills. I feel like that's the most important one for us. I won't name names, but if you want to know one of our or 2 of our first 3PLs, just type in 3PL in US in Google, and 2 of the first 5 hits, that's the ones that we were with. So I think that's a really important one for us. Like don't just go with the names out there. Just try to really like go and visit, get a feel for it, get a personal connection with them. I feel like for us, that's the most important one. We kind of do a tender, for example. We did one last year in Australia where we had, I think, 5, 6 3PLs that we were still looking at. We scored them on pricing, WMS, process, customer service, things like that. But we always put this little column next to it, like, how do we feel about it? Like, feeling is really important. And I remember getting in talks with one of my colleagues. We had 3 3PLs left. We both thought, just from like looking at the 3PL's WMS process, that the bottom one we would never go with, but just on a personal connection, we felt so comfortable with him and that he was really going to stand for us and for our brand. And that's actually the 3PL that we went with in Australia last year. And it's been, really a success for us.
I love to hear that. And I think it is so important to get into that warehouse, see it, meet the people who are going to be touching the product. Because sometimes, too, most of the times, it's coming straight from the manufacturer. Like, you're never seeing it. You're kind of trusting what it looks like. And with some of these limited edition drops, you might have seen a sample. So do you ever like FaceTime with them and say like, hey, show me the new products? Or do you see like what happens on those?
We do tend to ask them like send us pictures when you first get it. We also have them check the first products to come in to make sure that like on a quality side they're all okay. Yeah, so that's definitely a big one for us as well. And there comes a little bit of trust in there as well, because we kind of want them to be able to tell us before we tell them, hey, there might be something wrong. I want you guys to tell me if there's something wrong.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's nice. We sometimes have, most of the time with our software, we route the same customers to the same packers. So they will say like, hey, this looks funny. And they'll bring it to a supervisor, because if you're seeing it all day and working a line, you get used to the product. So having that ability and that flexibility, I think, is super important.
Yeah, and then I think a second one for us is also volume. We switched 3PLs in US last year in February. And we were doing about 10,000 orders a month at that point in time. So we made a contract with them. We do 10,000 orders. We put a little bit of volume discounts in there. So if we hit 30K or 40K, let's drop the price a little bit. There was like a 2-month gap between signing the contract and going live. By the time we went live, we were doing 50,000 orders. So that's also for me a difficult one, because then I'm going into a warehouse and I'm basically already getting the discounted price for the rest of the year, which they probably also didn't account for. So on our side, it was also a little bit difficult, because how do you do that conversation with them? Like, I don't want them to have to pay the price all the time, because it kind of sucks. It's really bad for them, because they didn't account for it. But so yeah, I would be very careful to put volumes in there and try to forecast as good as you can.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've noticed in this space, having our own 3PL and then working with a lot of 3PLs, price is so important. But sometimes if people just go so low, you will be their last priority in the 3PL, because they're just using it as a base to cover the rent. And so if something's going for under $1, basically, they're just trying to keep extra volume, but they're not making money on you. So when more orders come in, you will be deprioritized. That's just something to think about too, where it seems like, and I know with our partnership, we've really worked to get the best price, but also like we want each party wants to make money. Exactly. Like we know that we're in business to be profitable.
If we grow, you grow, and if you grow, hopefully we grow as well. So
yeah, totally, and that partnership's super important. So it comes to you start in Belgium, come to the U.S. and Canada, but there's also Australia. I heard there's a story where you launched 2 3PLs on the same day.
Yeah, so we launched.
Which sounds incredibly stressful.
We launched in the UK on 10th of October last year, and at the same time in Australia. I remember we were sitting in the hotel at 4 in the morning trying to get the connection up and running with Australia. But that's also where the trust comes in. Like we kind of felt like we didn't want to be in Australia because volume-wise, it wasn't the biggest one for us, and we also always have a backup plan. So we did have a backup plan in Australia. But yeah, it was stressful. Yeah, it was.
What was the backup plan? Was that just to route orders to a different warehouse, or? So
for a lot of the markets, we tend to test a little bit. So for example, in Australia, we were selling through Amazon, MCF, which was connected to our Shopify. So let's say that we were not able to push out any orders from our warehouse, we could just flip the switch and do it through Amazon again, if that was necessary.
Got it. Okay. That's a great backup. I think having a plan B, C, and D, and if you don't have to use them.
Yeah. Good enough.
Even better. Okay. So you have UK, Australia, Canada, US. What's next?
We're heavily looking into Southeast Asia right now. So Japan and South Korea are big ones for us. And then I think on the other side of the world, we're looking into Mexico and Brazil. Those are like the biggest ones for us right now. But they're hard markets for us.
Those are very hard markets to get into. Are you currently shipping one-offs into those markets?
Yeah.
And how's that going? Just because the addresses are different, like there's...
It's difficult, yeah. But like for example, for Japan, we use Amazon right now, so we do Amazon MCF through our Shopify. So that's somewhat working for us. The difficult part there again is customer service. Yeah, if it doesn't arrive, like what are you gonna tell them? We do it through Amazon, so that's a difficult one. But for us, we tend to use like local agencies, local marketing agencies that help us out with these things, because the way that you bring your product to market in South Korea or Japan. Yeah, it's completely different than doing it in Canada, for example.
Yeah, different go-to-market there. And when you have all of these different warehouses, you have Shopify, how have you worked with their WMSs? Because many times, like, do you have something that sits on top, or does everything just flow through and then Excel?
Yeah. It's flowed through an Excel, and we've got a couple of good colleagues in operations that check all these WMSs on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I did just want to touch on one of the last pieces on Amazon versus direct. It's always hard. We see this a ton in the US, and I'm sure in Europe too, the idea that Amazon's eating everything. How do you make sure people buy direct when you can?
So there's price, definitely. I think in my 2.5 years of the Loop, we've done 15 different prices of our products on Amazon. We tend to put them a little bit higher so that people do come to our website, but we've also had same pricing on there. I think the most important one for us is that our seasonal products and our limited edition ones, we don't sell them on Amazon, or at least not in the beginning when we launch. And it's actually the same for every single product that we launch. So last year, for example, we had a completely new product that went live on our website, but we always wait 3 to 4 months to launch it on Amazon so that people, when they see the new product, they want to come to us.
Okay, so people are interested in the newness, and you're kind of differentiating it that way.
Yeah.
That seems really smart. And then anything else you would tell someone who's like, I'm ready to get into the US or into another space? Like, should they hire a local consultant? Should they just get on the ground? Like, if they could only do one thing, what would it be?
I think one of the most interesting ones for me is try to find a few companies that do have a 3PL in the US and just order something from them and see who they're working with. I feel like that's a really interesting one for me always, just to see where the package is coming from. I wouldn't necessarily hire a local consultant. I was not in any way familiar with the US market, and it's very similar, I wouldn't say to Europe, but it's quite easy to figure out. It's zoning and a couple of transport companies and a couple of rules, but in the end, it wasn't the most difficult one for me to really figure out where do we want to be and then which companies do we want to use for transportation.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson. Sometimes just digging in and getting to learn the market. Sometimes consultants can overcomplicate something that's pretty straightforward with many of the carriers.
And there's enough companies out there that are really willing to help you out. Maybe there's not really a deal in there for them, but down the road they can also see the growth.
Absolutely.
And there's been occasions like that where 2 years ago I talked to people where they were introducing me to the US market, and now 2 years later we're actually going to be working with them.
Okay.
So,
all right, that's exciting. So what's the timeline on Japan and Southeast Asia and then potentially South America?
Good question. I'd say South Korea is the next one.
Okay.
We're live there on a couple of marketplaces, but to really get our foot in there with Shopify, I'd say it's still going to be 6 months, to a year. Yeah.
And are you just seeing that just based on orders?
Yeah.
You're just you just see it and you're like, okay, we have too much outbound.
Yeah, but orders, but also just difficulty to enter the market.
Okay.
It's a very different animal compared to Europe or US or Australia. Just to put it to market, it's not so much using a Meta or TikTok. It's local social media, local brands. It's very different than what we're used to right now.
So what's stopping you is the go-to-market, not necessarily the logistics at all.
No, logistics-wise, it's a little bit difficult because you need to have an importer of record for a lot of these places. But other than that, logistics-wise, it's quite manageable from our side. It's more about we want to make sure that people buy it and know our brand, know what we stand for. Yeah.
And then how many sales-wise now, what are you comfortable with sharing? Whether monthly orders across the world or revenue, monthly revenue, annual revenue, what are you comfortable sharing just so people can understand 6 warehouses equals this across 3 or 4 continents?
I think October 21, we did 500,000 units. So we sold 500,000 units at that point in time. Then March 2022, we sold 1 million units. And then as I mentioned, last month, we did our 10 million unit. What does that translate to on an order level? It's difficult to say. I'll be very honest because it fluctuates like crazy for us. But a good day, a normal day for us now on Shopify globally is about 10,000 orders a day.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's just Shopify. So if you double that, then you've got our Amazon volume with it. So about 20,000 orders a day.
So those are split about 50-50?
I'd say a little bit more on Amazon. Because for some markets, we're only on Amazon.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Anything else you'd like to share before we go into the Q&A?
I think just be able or just dare to take a risk when you go for a 3PL. I think that's the most important one for me. I also came into this like feeling like God, this is a lot of responsibility. We're doing a lot of orders. Like why would I go to a very small 3PL? But for us, it's really just been an absolute success going with the ones that you feel the personal connection with over the ones that you feel like you should be going with because of the size of the company that you're currently at. I think that's the most important one, the key for me, and that's always what I try to put into Loop as well. That take a risk and feel comfortable to do something different.
I love that. And I think what we're seeing too is a lot of the new 3PLs that are coming out in Europe and in the US, like they're willing to dig in and they really want to grow with you and they have the technology. They're entrepreneurs. Many times they have their own brands so that it's easy for them to help scale up with you and they really understand it.
Those are the kinds that we're going with. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And then I'll see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, and while people think of questions, as COO for ShipHero, you probably see the supply chain landscape change every day, and we hear disruptions and changing trends. So what do you do to stay ahead and to stay relevant in this ever-changing landscape?
Talk to customers. I think the most important thing, I love coming to conferences. I think it's absolutely, it's very important and we get to meet up with partners. But being on the front lines and talking to customers and finding out what they're really working on, what they're feeling. Like when I can ask, where are you going next? What's happening? Like that is so important. What are they nervous about? One of the things that I've noticed, they just don't want to keep that much inventory because many of them have been bought by private equity companies. So based on their P&L, they're like, I can't carry this much inventory. So if I could only do one thing, it's talk to customers every day to really understand the landscape. And then you can pull the trends out from there. So,
thanks. I saw already the hand go up. So if you could state your name and company, we would love to hear your question. Can we get the microphone for the questions live?
Hi. Oh, okay, right. I'm Anna. I'm from Mars, and I have a question because I'm just wondering. It's quite a lot of volume, and you mentioned that it's still Shopify Excel. So I'm wondering what is the reason? Why wouldn't you invest in some kind of integration with the WMSs? Is it because of the flexibility that you mentioned that you might want to change the warehouses or?
So for us, all of our Shopifys are integrated with the WMSs of the warehouses. The only thing that we are lacking at this point in time is an ERP system. We do not have an ERP system simply because there wasn't any time to do it. We didn't have, I think, 6 months ago, we hired our first project manager. We had one person in IT. So it's more about like having that possibility within Loop or having that resource available to do it rather than not feeling need to, because we do feel the pain of not having an ERP.
Yeah, I can imagine that as well. That's why I was so curious. Okay, right. Thank you.
Is there another question for either Maggie or Davy?
Can I get one thing with the ERPs as well, because we're seeing a lot of our customers move towards them. I had someone come to me and they say, we're going to do an ERP. It's got to be ready in 2 months. It was 12 months. So I think setting the expectations with the ERP, so it's ERP, Shopify, WMS, kind of like how that works. There's some great connectors with whether it's Celigo and some other providers too, that you have a lot of flexibility. And we're Shopify Plus certified. I think, Shopify is so powerful, but then getting that ERP and are you guys going to go with NetSuite or you don't know?
We do SAP.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot. We have a lot of NetSuite we're seeing trending as well. So, but yeah, give enough time.
I'll give you some more time to think of a question if you're still curious. Davy, we heard a lot about where you're headed or what the recent developments are for your company. So Maggie, just to ask you the same question, are there any recent developments or innovations that you're really excited about that you can tell us about?
Yeah, on the software side. So on our software side, we have customers from UMG to Solo Soap to Canadian Tire. So we go really big sometimes, and then someone who's just doing 5,000 orders a month. And one of the big things that we noticed is since we started in direct to consumer first, our pick and pack to direct to consumer was really good. And we had some B2B capabilities, but those were always lagging because we were just so Shopify centric. Now we're going to be releasing a wholesale module that is just going to change and get us to the next level. So it's very exciting for us from being so direct to consumer focused to now having this brand new B2B wholesale rollout for our SaaS customers.
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
We'll have one final minute to think of a question. I see nobody raised a hand. So then the final... Oh.
Maybe I have one. My name is Yalis. I work for Loop. But I think it's really interesting is that you're in this hyper-growth company and you build up a relationship, or you base your decision on working with a 3PL based on relationship or the gut feeling that you have. But I can imagine that triggers complexity as well, because you're in a hyper-growth. You base your decision on the gut feeling you had that moment. What is needed to maintain that good relationship, and at what point makes you decide to leave a 3PL that was based on good relationship?
Are you breaking up with us? I'm kidding.
No.
Awkward.
I think for me to maintain that relationship, I think transparency is one of the biggest ones. If we can save some money, or if, like, for example, if we have the opportunity for Canada, for example, to get something cheaper, I will always share it with my 3PL, but I expect them to do the same. If they can save us some money, I would prefer them to like split it with us and not just take it for their own margin. If we do find out that they didn't do that, then that's a difficult one for us, and that might be the one that pulls us over the edge.
Yeah, and I think that's really important whenever we kind of find what we call like hidden margin or new margin. We do like to share that because it also translates very well to the software side. If we have this new thing called pick to light carts, so we can pick faster. We know our margins are going up on our fulfillment side. We can then share that with our fulfillment customers. And it's really exciting. It helps both sides of the house. And it reinforces the partnership. And also, I think you can always scale technology. Like, even if you have a mom and pop, they can do a lot with really good technology.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing all the insights you both gained from that partnership and sharing the value that this partnership has created. We will be back with the next session here in the Blue Studio. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.